The last level is promoting district and school development. And basically, this is you knowing the rules and the procedures for your school building, for your district. So how do you go about doing that? You need to, as soon as you get a job, if you have a job, if you haven't done these things, make sure you do them. Make sure you know the district code of conduct. Make sure you have read the student handbook. You have a copy of the school calendar, and you know when important dates are. You know when interim reports are due. You know when report cards are due. You know when, definitely when there's a day off, but you need to know when the book fair is coming in. You need to know if there's a guest speaker coming in, if there's an assembly being planned. You need to keep track of all of those things, because those are going to be impacting what you're able to do or can't do in the classroom. Also, make sure you review the homework policy. More and more boards of education are dictating what the homework policy needs to be. Very often they might give a general district policy, and then the school has more criteria. I know when I was working for the Lakeland School District, the Copper Beach Middle School, which is where I was an assistant principal for, each grade level needed to come up with a consistent homework policy. So the district had a general statement that said homework needed to be given on a regular basis, and it could not be worth more than 20% of a student's overall grade. So then the Copper Beach Middle School took that policy, and then they refined it even more. It was decided that in that building, homework would not count more than 10% of a student's overall grade. And then each grade level had to come up with a consistent policy so that no matter where they went into, whether it be the science room or the social studies, English, math room, the kids knew what was expected. Tests were going to be worth this amount. Homework was worth 10%. Quizzes were worth this amount, labs and projects were worth this amount. So you really need to make sure that you know up front what you can and cannot give. Some schools say you cannot give a grade for homework. So make sure you know what the policy is, because you don't want a surprise or a confrontation at some point in time with a parent because you didn't know what the homework policy was. Also, know what the procedures are for progress reports and report card grades, and if there's a grading procedure, you need to know all of those things. And then superintendent conference days is very often referred to as professional days. Sometimes your district will bring in a guest speaker for the entire district to listen to. Sometimes schools get to decide what happens. Sometimes the teachers have choice about what's happening. Sometimes you're given time to work on curriculum. Sometimes you're given time to work on a project to support the curriculum in your classroom. And, it all depends on the district and what it is that you're doing. But no matter what is happening, reflect on what was presented. Even if you walk away with one new thing to think about, to reflect upon, or to try in the classroom, it was worth the day. Fortunately, unfortunately, this is the time when teachers become the students, and you don't want to become the terrible student that you can't stand having in the back of your room. So keep that in mind. You should act professional at all times, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about professionalism and collegiality. Now, very often throughout this course, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of things that have come to my attention as an administrator that have become my pet peeves. And these are things that I often find that teacher education programs don't share with new teachers. And I want to make sure that I pass these things on to you. Telling your administrator that you didn't know about progress reports being due, it's not a valid reason, and it's not a valid excuse. You are expected to know these things. It's part of your job. No one is necessarily going to come right out and say, you need to do this, you need to do that. Always dress professionally. And I want you to do this right from the time that you're doing your student teaching or if you're doing it now. I know some environments are more casual than other environments, but if you're uncertain how to dress, always look to the student dress code, because you need to be a model for the students that you work with. And middle school and high school students are always looking to see if you're going to be a hypocrite. So give you an example, when I was a middle school principal, one of the rules, dress code rules that we had, is that students couldn't wear flip-flops, and the teachers were adamant about enforcing that rule. And it was a very difficult rule to enforce once the weather got warmer. And I finally said to my faculty, I will enforce this policy full force as long as you are helping me. And that includes you yourself not wearing flip-flops to work, because it's really hard for me to tell an 8th grader that they can't wear flip-flops when their English teacher, their science teacher, is wearing flip-flops. And all of the reasons I can give them why they can't wear flip-flops should also be applying to you. So keep that in mind. Email addresses. I know when you're in college, you have these email addresses that you might have had from the time that you were in elementary school, or you got new ones. But once you start applying for jobs, once you have a job, you should have a professional email address that school districts can contact you on. I cannot tell you how many times I have interviewed people, and the email address that they put on their resume is Sun Goddess 123, Sexy Mama 820, whatever. Get rid of that stuff, because your email address is definitely part of that first impression, and you don't want to have an employer contact you through this email address. Also, if you have a Facebook or any other kind of social media, make sure that you are deleting anything that's negative or suggestive that an employer, a parent, or a student can get access to. And I'll share another story with you. We had a music teacher. She was young. She was out of college. We spent a lot of time with her. She had a lot going for her. Unfortunately, she started friending students on her Facebook account, which also happened to be the same Facebook account that she was sharing with her college friends. And there were some pictures of her that 6th and 7th, 8th grade students were getting a hold of her drinking beer. There was another one where she was straddling Ronald McDonald statue at the McDonald's. All of a sudden, a lot of negative rumors, gossip, spreading around this young teacher, to the point where it got so bad that she ended up being fired. So you don't want anything like that happening, and you hear stories like that all the time. Once you are hired, you should be using the school email address. No longer share your personal email address with anybody. Do set up a teacher web page that students can check in with, that they can communicate with you through. You can communicate with parents. And if you do have a Facebook, because that's one of the things that's just going on right now with social media, is that school districts, teachers have Facebook or Twitter. What's going on? Just don't friend parents on students on any Facebook that is connected to you personally. Those are just a few things for you to keep in mind. And again, those are my personal pet peeves. You might have had experiences which are different. Your school district might have different rules, but these are all things that you should keep in mind when we're talking about being professional and being collegial. These are all things that I wanted to share with you. So this is it for Domain 4. There are 2 other presentations for this week, and again, doesn't matter what order you watch them in. There's one on Domain 3, and there's one on Domain 2. So if this is the last one that you need to do in the series of 3, you can go on with your projects. If this is the first, you probably still have more things to do. Before you move on, though, I'd like to go over your discussion board for this week. This week, we are going to continue to reflect on our teaching with particular emphasis on Domain 4, which is collegiality and professionalism. Specifically, we're going to be dealing with levels 1 and 2. And what I would like you to do is use the unit you are focusing on this semester, and you'll get more of that when you review the presentation on Domain 2. Or you can use science as general. But this week, when we're on the discussion board, we are a science blog community. And what I would like you to start doing is use each other to ask questions about the topic or the lessons which you're going to be working on this semester. And it could be if some of you are actually teaching this year, use a unit that you're going to be actually teaching. That's going to be the best way for you to start actually using a lot of these techniques and tools that we're going to be talking about this year. Share ideas, share strategies, any articles of interest that you found that might give teachers, your colleagues, any kind of ideas, any pertinent websites that you have found or that you use to support what you do in the classroom. Are there science organizations that your colleagues should belong to? So these are the types of things that we're going to do. So we're going to be using this as a science blog community. Please keep in mind, you still need to make reference to things that we've read, things that we've talked about in class, or anything else that you've read or experienced about promoting collegiality and professionalism in the field of science today. And again, this is a way for you to start building resources for your classroom, to improve the resources maybe that you're already working on, and then to give you the opportunity to practice looking for mentorship and being a mentor. So good luck with this. There'll be more explanation and a better write-up and other parts of the assignment log. So this is just giving you a heads up of what needs to be done.